Hello, welcome back. Mike from Canavan Wealth. I want to do a quick video on these buzzwords: fiduciary, fee-based, and independent. I did a whole video already about independent and how it is kind of a scale. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that I think describe themselves as independent that really aren't. This one's very important. If you were looking for a flesh and blood financial advisor, I strongly recommend that they are a true independent. These other two have become, unfortunately, I believe, misleading. I think the industry in going this way is the right way, but there are people advertising that manipulate the customer perception about these words in a way that is unfortunate. And it's not because I'm not these things. 90% of the time I'm working, it's as a fiduciary, it's in a fee-based sense. So this is not that I'm not these things and I have a problem with it. Fiduciary is that you are legally required to act in your client's best interests, meaning you can't be putting them into a product because of how much money you earn. Fee-based, typically compared to commission-based, is that you're charging some type of a fee for ongoing management of the account versus a commission, which is something I earn money on when I sell it, and then little to no money after that, although there are still 12B1 fees that are considered commissions, oddly. But the best way I can describe the differences here is if it's kind of like a car salesman, a fiduciary fee-based car salesman who doesn't earn anything when you initially buy the car, but earns something each year as long as you continue to drive the car. And they have to sit in the back of the car and take all of your complaints about how the car is doing, right? Versus a kind of traditional commission-based salesman who sells you the car and you leave and he never sees you again, maybe at an appointment, or if he did a good job, you might go work with them in the future. So the move to fiduciary and fee-based over the last few years, I think, has been fantastic for both consumers and advisors. The simple truth is that the financial services industry, in my opinion, earns more under a fee-based system than commission. So this is not because this move is largely monetary in terms of the financial services industry embracing it. Where do you still see places where you don't have fiduciary responsibility and they're commission-based? It's often in the insurance industry. That's because they are just slow to adapt to these new rules and the way they price things, often through state law, because insurance is often very heavily regulated at the state level, is through a commission-like system. So there is still holdouts in the financial services industry that is commission-based, non-fiduciary. But that is a stark contrast to the kind of independent advisors. I of one, LPL Financial has like 20,000 advisors in the country, and there are lots of other firms that are independent advisors. This is where the conflict enters, in my opinion, which is why are they pushing this in advertisement? My biggest frustration always comes from Fisher Investment commercials that really play up the fact that they're fiduciary, the fact that they're fee-based, that they do better when their clients do better, that they're required to act in your own best interest. For me, if you're going to say, I'm only going to look at independent advisors who are fiduciary, is kind of like saying, I'm only going to look at new cars that come with seatbelts. I don't disagree with you, but all new cars come with seatbelts. There are very, very few independent advisors out there that are not required to act in a fiduciary sense in some way or be fee-based. So this is my opinion. Maybe there are holdouts in places that I'm not familiar with, but your average advisor, they are a relatively modern advisor, and they probably fall under all these wickets. They're really advertising against the insurance industry when they're often implying that whatever independent advisor you're already working with might not be a fiduciary. Because I have clients come in all the time and they're like, are you a fiduciary? And I'm like, yeah, I have, in the way that we work together, we do. And there are places that want to go entirely fee-based or fee-only. I just don't think the industry is there yet. The best experience I can give people is term life insurance, right? I don't do a lot of insurance products, so almost nothing in annuities or universal life or whole life. But I do have clients that need term life insurance. So I do it for them. I technically earn a commission. It's not in that when I work with them in that capacity, I am technically not a fiduciary. And oftentimes I've had clients that say, I have an insurance agent. Do you mind if I get my term life insurance through them? And I'm always like, fine with me. It's really not a big part of my business. So, if you have somebody that you're comfortable with, you want to support, I think that's great. And they show up like a month later and they're like, boy, the insurance was a lot more expensive than you had described. It's 10 times what I described. It's because they're getting sold universal life or whole life, some big policy that they really don't need. And they just end right back up, and I end up hooking them up with term life insurance that is usually less than 1/10 of the cost of some of these big policies. So, in that capacity, I'm not these keywords, but in my opinion, I am absolutely acting in the client's best interest by selling them the best product for what they need, right? So, around here, in southeastern Idaho, most people will remember Yellowstone Partners. This was a huge firm in our area. It is literally like a half a mile over there, or it was. And they were fiduciary, fee-based. I got a recommendation to go talk to these folks when I got into the industry. They kind of said, well, if you're still in the industry 5 years, come back and talk to them. I never did. He got arrested he got raided by the feds, $2.6 million in embezzlement. It's not in this because this is official, but I think their fees were absolutely outrageous. Something I thought it was like 2% a quarter or something. Nuts. I got a recommendation to talk to these folks from someone whose opinion I still value. It sucks in here about being fee-based. I assume that they were acting in fiduciary capacity. And just because the law requires you to act in a fiduciary capacity does not mean that they will, right? I've seen, let me just get back to the right screen here. I've seen accounts from clients that were paying 2.5% in advisory fees on stock accounts that probably hadn't been traded in 10 years. Do you think that's in the client's best interest? I don't, right? But they're still operating today. You'd be shocked at what I see come across my desk. Just because someone is labeled fiduciary or fee-based or fee-only or even independent, those are largely just labels that exist for just about everyone these days. So a lot of people will say, well, isn't that a good place to start though? I think it's a checkbox that you need to check. But if you start every conversation with, are you a fiduciary? I think it is going to lead you down a path that is artificial. So where is the best place to start? Unfortunately, it's a long road, in my opinion, to find a financial advisor that you are comfortable with, and to be perfectly blunt, isn't a crook. And it's going to take time. A recommendation is a great place to start. But like I said, Yellowstone Partners was recommended to me as like people to go look at by people that I valued, and didn't work out. So to bring this back to why I do these videos, it's so that clients and potential clients can get to know me, because the most important thing in this business for the advisor is to build the trust that they need with their client, so that they can do the things they need to for their client in a way that they trust them. I've had times where someone comes in and we go through everything and I'm like, this is going to be a home run. This is going to be so great to be able to kind of straighten out their finances, get them headed in a much better direction. And then a couple of weeks later, I find out that they're decided to stay with whatever it was they were doing or whatnot. And that hurts, not because I lost a client, right? In a fee-based system, I'm not going to earn on that client for a long time. It doesn't affect my business immediately in this tiniest amount of way. It bothers me because I know it's because I wasn't able to build the trust with the client to be able to transform their financial situation, which, I kind of knew needed to be transformed. which is just a bad feeling when someone you could have helped ended up not trusting you. And I get why trust is very hard to build in our business. I've seen it come across my desk. You can look it up in the news. So the ability to watch videos and kind of get to know someone, watch them talk a lot, I think is really valuable when you run like a remote business like this. It's one of the reasons I don't avoid politically charged topics, even though invariably some people will not like my politics. I would rather they know that early than develop a relationship and find out that, their perception is that I am a radical, whatever side it is, or in the middle or whatever it is. And I think it's important for clients to know whether I am going to be influenced by hot button political issues and making decisions on their accounts based on my political leanings, right? It's why I don't actually talk about a lot of, investment financial stuff on these videos, because I have learned through having clients in the office what they're really trying to figure out is whether they can trust you and whether you know what you're talking about when it comes to a lot of different topics. So just to kind of wrap it up and get back to the fiduciary and fee-based part of this, although they are check boxes that I think you need to check when looking for a financial advisor, in my opinion, do not put too much credibility on if I found someone, they're fiduciary, they're fee-based because some article told me that I needed to work with someone in that capacity and that's where I started. I would really look deeper in terms of business relationships, recommendations. Can you get to know the person? And then it just takes time. Start working with them on a small level and then grow that relationship as you become more comfortable with them. Because I don't mean to digress, but this is one last thing, right? So much of why it is smart for some people to have a financial advisor, flesh and blood, is that most people at some point in their life, they will go through some event, a parent passing, a child passing, retirement planning, where they need or want the advice of a professional. If you go to find a good financial advisor at that time, when you really need that advice, you are putting yourself at risk because you are at a needy point in your life where you need to just be able to believe whatever it is someone says, right? There's a big inheritance coming in or something, and you're dealing with estates and things, and you just want to be able to say, hey, so-and-so, what should I do with XYZ? And you just want to be able to do whatever they say and move on. If you're in that situation and you just start working with someone, I think you just open yourself up to a lot of risk. So, a lot of people say, I don't need a financial advisor yet, but I might in the future. Unfortunately, it's really tough to build that trust and relationship with someone in a couple of days and a couple of appointments when you really need it, right? So that's it. I'll get off my high horse here for a little bit. This has been Mike from Canavan Wealth. If you have any questions, send them to me at mike@canavanwealth.com, and I will respond to you as well as possibly put them up in a response video. And I hope this was good. Thanks for listening.